project, so thanks so much for the Louisiana Endowment for Humanities for hosting this. One of the reasons why they hosted this project here is because NUNU is a repository for conversation. It's a place where you can come and have conversations with people you know and don't know, and really kind of focusing on what it is to be a community and how do we talk to each other as part of a community. So we're really excited to have this series happen here. I want to thank George Marks for hosting this series here, so thank you. And Peg Raymer for hosting this series also and keeping it together, executive director. I also want to thank the team that puts together the Tapestries project. You'll see David Morrow here, project manager, and also film extraordinaire. Nikki Barnes, working interior design, decorating.
Space together. Charles Chasson, keeping the online presence, the digital, the graphics, and the design all together. And I work with hosting the exhibit and making sure that we have our guests here. As you can see, this is the first of a series of conversations. In the brochure, you'll see the other ones that are coming up. So we have 5 in this series. Next month, we will be hosting Colleen Billiot and Erica Fox talking about Indigenous communities and Indigenous cultural reclamation in Louisiana. So we'll hope you join us for that one also. A little bit about what the Tapestry series was developed on. I think the word tapestry was very important, and that was something that was actually Nikki's child of coming up with what this might be designed as. And when I looked on Wikipedia to see what a tapestry was and what does Louisiana mean as a tapestry, some things stuck out to me about the Wikipedia article. I read a lot of Wikipedia. It's used to create images rather than patterns. So tapestries have more imagery than patterns. So I thought that was another way to think about what are we in Louisiana. You know, I think there's always this need to make patterns and try to make meaning and stuff from the different things that happen. But what's more important than getting the detail and the beauty of individual images or vignettes? So that's one thing the Tapestry Project really thinks about. The other thing that I really thought kind of worked well with Louisiana was tapestries are relatively fragile and difficult to make. And when we think about the community of Louisiana and who we are, it's fragile and they can be easily broken and they're difficult to make. It's very difficult to have this loom with so many threads going at the same time. And each of us today are playing a part to strengthen that tapestry and weave us further together. So I thank you guys for doing that today. Today we're going to be talking about the contemporary Latino experience in Louisiana. And our person of the day is going to be Diego Martin-Perez. Diego comes to us from, well, you drove in from New Orleans, yes. But you spent, well, I don't want to take your whole presentation, so I'm just going to read your bio. Yeah. Diego Martin-Perez grew up in Puerto Rico and moved to Lafayette with his family in 2005. He is the former host of the radio show La Velnera on KRVS and the owner of Pan Fuerza Bakery in New Orleans. So Diego's going to tell us a little bit, going to give a speech, sure. Tell us a little bit about your life. We're going to do a Q&A talking about what his Louisiana experience is. But while I'm doing the Q&A, just think about in your heads because there's going to be other places where we want you to talk to Diego and ask him questions too. And after that, we're going to move on and we're going to really use our table and talk with each other for the rest of the day. On the tables, you'll see these cubes. Instead of PowerPoint presentations, we have these cute little cubes that make this wonderful sound. It's a ping pong ball inside if you're feeling like, what is happening here? But feel free to toss them around. There's some QR codes of things that Diego will be talking about. There's also a map to show you where Puerto Rico is. And yeah, with that, take it away, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me at this voice? Okay. Well, thank you everybody for being here. My name is Diego Jose Martin-Perez. I was born in Puerto Rico in 1989. I'm 35 years old. I moved to Lafayette when I was 16 years old. So 2 years ago, I surpassed that halfway point of being Puerto Rican for 16 years and now being a Louisiana native for 19 years, right? And a big In Puerto Rico, before I keep going, this is a political conversation, and political in the sense that what we're talking about refers to and deals with people, their environments, and the interactions between the environments, and what that means. Music, food, art are all political things because they give a message of a people, of a place, of a sentiment, of a longing. So in Puerto Rico, I am considered uno de los que se fue, one of the ones that left. A diasporican is a new term coined by a chef and food writer called Iriana Maisonet, who's Puerto Rican, grew up in San Francisco. Puerto Rican flags all over her arms, her bracelets, her shirts, her food, but when she goes to Puerto Rico, she's got an accent, they spot her, they're like, where are you from? So when I was like 19, I went back home and I went to get a papaya from the market right down the street from where I grew up. And I said, ¿Cuánto está la papaya? How much are the papayas? And the guy's like, where are you from? And I literally grew up like half a mile from that market. And that was the first time where I was like, what do you mean where I'm from? I'm from right here. And the more I spent time away, the more that space and that difference was made evident to me. So why are there so many Puerto Ricans not living in Puerto Rico? There are more Puerto Ricans living outside of Puerto Rico than live in Puerto Rico. There were several diasporas, several migrations that were forced because of necessity. And it's all because of colonialism. Puerto Rico was invaded in 1898. It was a Spanish colony. They were liberating themselves from the Spanish colony, and there was the Spanish-American War. The Americans took Puerto Rico, the Philippines, Cuba, Mariana Islands, and something else, I don't know. A lot, they bought all of this for like $4 million. And they came into Puerto Rico, and alongside with hurricanes that demolished like over 90% of the agricultural products, it created a perfect environment for the Americans to take control of the land and make the Puerto Ricans that were subsisting of the land workers for the companies that were going to produce sugarcane, pineapples, coffee, and a lot of the things that Puerto Rico is known for: rum, coffee, fruits, etc. And that pushed people from the center of the island. If you look at the map in the island, there's dark green in the middle. That's where a lot of the farming happens, to the coast. And one of the places in the coast is San Juan, the capital, and that's where I was raised. San Juan is a big place. There's like over a third of the population concentrated in San Juan metro area. So from 4 million people, about 1 million people live in San Juan. It's bustling, like there's no city in Louisiana that's as dense as San Juan. And a big part of San Juan, the history of San Juan, is the escape valve from the island to here. So a lot of people who are in San Juan, they're not born and raised in San Juan. I was, but my mom came from Isabela, from the West Coast. My dad's family came from Mayagüez and Arecibo, which is North and West Coast. A lot of the people who are in San Juan, they're not from there because they were pushed there. You want to make money, you can't make money as a farmer, go to the city, go work. You can't make money in the city, well, the Domino Sugar Company that is growing all the sugarcane in Puerto Rico has an office in New York. That's why Puerto Ricans land in New York, okay? So when I came here, it wasn't because I had to leave. So I didn't consider myself a migrant, an economic migrant or a forced migrant of like, I can't live here anymore. I was an athlete. I played golf. I was pretty good at golf, and I was trying to get a scholarship in the universities so I could pay for my college, become a professional golfer or a doctor, whichever worked. And I told my parents I wanted to achieve that goal, and the mentality was United States. And that is a big part of what I want to talk about, is the colonialism that we are born with, of like, Puerto Rico is beautiful, the beaches, the food, the music, but like if you really want to like get ahead, you want to look out to the United States. And San Juan is that escape valve. That's why I grew up like idolizing the United States culture. You know, Michael Jordan, Mickey Mouse, pizza and hot dogs, hamburgers, rock and roll. And like Haley said, I hosted a radio show here for 11 years on Latin and Caribbean music. I didn't grow up listening to that. Yes, I did. But what is, you know, the hardships that I sustained living in Louisiana also put me in contact with people that have similar experiences, because as we know, people who grew up here in Louisiana were at once punished for speaking French and punished for being Cajun, being Creole, being black. And they had to hide that culture. And then there's this cultural gap of grandparents speak French, parents don't speak French, and now the grandchildren my age are being like, wait, what's up? How can I learn to speak this language? How can I learn to cook this pot? Let me get a cast iron and a Magnalite so I can do it the way grandma did it, right? And it is with that shared experience that I became in touch with my culture, because when I came here, I was very Americanized. I was listening to, obviously, reggaeton, but also I was really wanting to know like what was fun and cool here, hip hop, country music, rock. Let's just get that. Let me learn all about this. And after meeting people that were my age, that were Cajuns, that were working really hard to learn their roots and reestablish that as a norm of the landscape, inspired me to go visit home more frequently, to ask my grandma how to cook rice, to ask my uncles about their uncles who build instruments, and learn about the music of my people. And the radio show really changed as that happened, as that relationship developed. I went from playing just the 24 CDs that I had to going back and buying CDs, and going back and inheriting the records that my great aunts have, that have her handwriting on the covers, and just like digging deeper. And that, the reason why like Louisiana and like Acadiana was important in my development is because of that shared resistance of like people being like, I am not a regular American. I am not like a gringo, you know? I am a Cajun. I have a deep culture that is not this homogenized thing, right? So, yeah, people, I walk around New Orleans and people look at me and they're like, there's some hipster from Brooklyn who's here, or from LA or whatever. But they talk to me 5 seconds and they immediately like, no, there's something different. Doesn't change the fact that, you know, that I am a white passing person, that I have some privilege, that I came here because I was a golfer, okay? Like, I wasn't here, didn't come here to work the farms or to like pick myself up, whatever. But the same idea is the same of like, you know, I had to leave Puerto Rico because I chose to leave because I thought that wasn't good enough and that this was better. And as soon as I came here, second day of school, the dean of students calls me Taco, Paco, or whatever your name is, get in line. And I immediately learned, okay, this is like, I've never experienced that in Puerto Rico, right? And then I go to the line of the cafeteria and I go up to the food and they serve me rice and beans and stewed beef and that is my grandma's food. So there's these two contrasting experiences in the same day that kind of like scrambled everything inside and gave me this, I don't know, just curiosity of what's going on here. Didn't really understand racism before I moved here. Didn't really understand anything about where I was. I just came here because my uncle lives here. So I really wanted to like kind of tie together the music that you were listening to my experience here, and just kind of talking about my radio show and how it started, me trying to find and like fit into this box of like Latino, Puerto Rican, and then the journey of meeting Cajuns, being inspired to reach deep and learn about my culture, and then realize I didn't come here to play golf. I decided to come here because I was colonized in my mind, and a lot of my family is in Puerto Rico, and they're just like, really, we should be a state. We don't really have to get into like that part of politics. That QR code for the YouTube video, that's one video of many in a channel that are very excellently produced, that talk about the relationship of Puerto Rico with the United States, that are current, okay? And they paint a reason why I can't move back, why it's hard for me to go back. So, you know, like through my interactions with Acadian people, Louisiana people, I went back home, I deepened my connections, I got to learn about the history of my people, and now I'm here understanding my place here and wearing a shirt that says Puerto Rico Libre, Free Palestine, because that struggle is the same, okay? We're being displaced from my home, either this subconscious way of me being like, no, Puerto Rico is good, but America's better, or worse yet, being literally priced out of your house because of taxes, because of corporations taking over the land, or because of just financial things that make Puerto Ricans not be able to survive in their own land. So, you know, it's 19 years ago, I would really never imagine that I'd be talking to anybody about my experience as a Latino in Louisiana, but it's just way too much to encompass, to describe coherently in 20 minutes. I guess, I don't know, I could talk for forever, but I guess I'll just open it up to questions. Thank you for listening. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Diego, for sharing that. I think my first question is, how's your golf game right now?
Terrible.
What happened?
Terrible. I would go to Puerto Rico every summer. My parents would be like, oh, you're out of school? Flying back. And until I was like, no, I'm staying here for a summer, like, let's see what it's about. And it was too hot. But in Puerto Rico, we have droughts in the summer. And I practiced way too hard in the drought. And what you're doing when you're hitting a golf ball, you're hitting against the ground. And if the ground is dry, you will tear up your arms. And I came back and like, I couldn't hold a pencil. So I had to like sit out from like a semester of I did make it to college golf. Like I was a college athlete after all. I did achieve that goal, and I don't have student debt because of that. So I'm really lucky for that. But I destroyed my body doing so, and it really became my job, and that left a bad taste. So golf is not represent like a fun leisure activity. Golf represents waking up before the sunrise to like go run and exercise and then go train and then, you know. But one day I'll come back to it if my body allows.
In your own terms,
pretty
right?
bad.
Yeah.
The golf game is pretty bad now.
That's good.
I still beat my dad, though, which is all that matters. Yeah.
I know that there's going, and I welcome and I hope there's more questions about what Diego talked about today, but I want to talk a little bit about your Louisiana experience and what it's been here since then. So can you talk us through how did you get from golf game to this couch? What kind of work have you done, or what are the things that have made you within this?
From golf game to this couch.
Yeah.
Well, I destroyed my body. I got a scholarship to play golf in Shreveport, Louisiana, at Centenary College.
Okay.
Super hard school, very, very. The environment was weird, but the school was so challenging and really forced me to like study. It was also a Division I school, so I was getting paid to play golf. And both of those, like having a class of 25 students in your biology 101, where your teacher knew when you were and were not there, and everything was handwritten. They were pinned against each other. The academics and the sports, they were both demanding so much of me. I did really poorly in class the first semester. I was put on probation. I started studying really hard, and because I couldn't play because of my arm, I got my grades up and I really got into my studies. I was doing biology and chemistry, and at that point I was like, I'm going to transfer to UL and just study. I don't want to play golf anymore. I can't play golf anymore, and this is too much pressure. It's not enjoyable. After I left, Centenary became a Division III athletic program, which what that means is that you cannot give athletic scholarships. You're only a student. If you can make it to the tournament, you can go play. But the way that it was set up when I was there was you play and you fit studying where it fits. So that the school really was grappling, not to say that I didn't, that it wasn't hard and that some people could manage it, I couldn't, but the school realized like this is way too much for the size of school, let's change it up. And it became more like Millsaps or something. When I was at UL, it was so much easier than Centenary. Like the education part was a lot more relaxed, so I had a bit more leisure time. And I was learning how to play guitar, and I was doing a lot of like, I was involved in the Catholic Church and doing like praise and worship music and learning guitar, and I was starting to learn the blues because one of my friends in Shreveport, she's a wonderful like blues and like Americana music, like singer, songwriter, and she got me really, really into blues music. When I moved to UL, I started playing, I was trying to get like a little band going with my friends, and we started playing blues with my friend Joe Vidrine and Colin Gould, and they were both Cajuns, and they were both playing Cajun music, and we would play a blues show at Atmosphere, and then they'd be like, we got across the street to the Blue Moon, we're playing Cajun music with Le Malfecteur. And from enough time of being in that scene, I just wound up hanging out with the Cajun guys. And I wound up going play a show in Golden Meadow with the Malfecteur, and then drive that same day to Eunice to play at Lakeview. And then I was like, you know what, Cajun music is awesome. And I really got into like playing Cajun guitar and learning songs, started learning French, and that was where I started hearing. I had already tasted the similarity in food between Puerto Rican food and Cajun food, but when I started playing Cajun music, I really started hearing a lot of similarities of music that I was that I remember growing up listening to, because I was raised in San Juan in the city, but my mom is from a more rural town where the tradition of strings, which the playlist we were hearing had a lot of like country music, and those sounds never leave you, whether you are an enthusiast of that style of country music or not. Like, it's just like a part of our folklore. So I just started really becoming curious about that similarity of music. And Colin Gould's mother she had an administrative role at KRVS, the radio station at UL. So I would go visit Colin at KRVS because they had free food during the fundraisers, and I was a broke student, and Colin and I became good friends. And one day he was like, "Why don't you do a radio show? They don't have a Latin radio show." And I did a demo, they accepted it, and then I started doing the radio show as a student at UL. And I guess from there, thanks to the library at UL, like not the book library, the CDs that they had at the station really educated me, because they have a huge catalog of like folkloric music from all over Latin America and the Caribbean and Africa. And the radio show became like a research project for me, where I was learning a lot about all these different styles and building these bridges, and simultaneously I'm playing Cajun music, right? So I'm hearing like Mama Rosanne, which is a song that is so Cajun. At the same time, Mama Rosanne it's a Cuban song called Ay Mama Inés. It was a song that black people were singing, asking for permission to dance on their Sundays or whatever. How that song made it to Nathan Abshire's repertoire, well, it's radio waves and all that, but I started hearing more similarities of that. And of course the accordion here, and hearing merengue music in the Dominican Republic, and cumbia, and the styles of the accordion in Mexico and Colombia and Brazil and the Caribbean, it just all started making sense to me. So I just kept digging, and then I started buying records and learning more and more about music, and educating myself politically, in a sense where I started understanding that the reason why these musics exist and have these similarities have a lot to do with black people, and where black people were, and what cultures they bring to the table, and what were the colonizing cultures that created Creole music. And Creole music in Puerto Rico is different than Creole music here, is different than Creole music in all of the different places, but it's always an existing indigenous or endemic culture being blended with a new culture that's coming from outside. So you may have Mexican, native Aztec with Spanish, or you may have Puerto Rican Spanish with Haitian, or you may have Louisiana Cajuns with Americans, and it's all different creolizations or blends. And at that point it became less magical and more duh, of course things are gonna make sense and be connected. It's a small world. And I guess through being a student of music and history through music, I'm here, I guess.
Beautiful.
That was long-winded.
No, yeah, it was interesting because we were playing, you gave us a Spotify playlist to play ahead of time. Thanks so much for that. It's on the QR code too if you want to play his Spotify playlist. But we were playing it as we were getting stuff ready. And we had somebody come through NUNU's and they were like, "That's a Cajun song, on your list." And that was interesting. And thank you for bringing that up, that it wasn't, it's a creolization.
It might as well be a Cajun song though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I want to ask you a little bit about Louisiana as a place. What are the geography or the places within the state that you